Okay, good morning, everyone. First, I want to say thank you for attending. We are very conscious of your time, so we will stick to our timeline of less than 1 hour today on our webinar. Brian, if you want to go to the next page. Before we get started, just to cover who the presenters are today with TP-Link. My name is Robbie Thomas. I'm the director here at Alibi Security, and I'll be the host. We have Brian Arciniega. He's the account executive over at TP-Link. He's going to be our actual presenter. Brian, why don't you take a second and tell us a little bit about yourself?
Yes, of course. Hi, everybody. My name is Brian Arciniega. Really happy to be here. Thanks to Robbie and the whole Alibi team for inviting me over. Quick things about me. So I'm actually graduated, I have a bachelor's in computer engineering, and I joined TP-Link this year. So really quick to learn all about the products, excited to talk about some of our solutions for security today. So you guys can definitely reach out to me afterwards. I'm sure we'll have some kind of contact information or be able to send some marketing materials as well.
Perfect. Before we get started, just to kind of cover meeting logistics, we know that everybody's going to have questions. This is a brand new partnership that we're really excited to expose y'all to. If anyone knows us, you know that when we pick partners, we really pick partners that have a long-term success for you. And we know anything new you're going to have questions on. If you have questions during this presentation, just go ahead and type them in the Q&A using the Q&A button at the bottom. But also note that at the end, we're going to answer any questions that y'all have, and we're going to get right on into it. So if you want to go to the next one. So without further ado, I'll turn it over to Brian. He's our presenter today, and let him go through everything you need to know about TP-Link.
Yeah, perfect. Thank you so much, Robbie. So TP-Link, right? So you might have heard of us. I'm here to actually speak about our enterprise solutions and our enterprise line specifically, and that goes by the name Omada. And our tagline for the last couple of years, things that we're really trying to focus on are reliable and smart network solutions. So that is basically going to be the theme of today. And I'll go ahead and start with a short agenda, just letting you know kind of what's coming up ahead. Definitely going to talk a little bit about us, TP-Link. Some of you guys may have heard of us, some of you may have not, and then go into the Omada cloud solution. And then you guys might have heard of some of our competitors, so we'll do a quick competitive analysis. And then really excited to talk about the partnership that we've had with Alibi over the last some of the most important products and projects. And then I'll end with some of the final words, and we can do a Q&A afterwards. But all right, with that, we'll get started. So TP-Link, right? You may have heard of the name. You may have used one of our smaller Soho routers, or perhaps a power line repeater or an extender or something of that sort. And thanks to all of our consumer products and our marketing share on the consumer side, we've become the world's #1 provider of consumer Wi-Fi products. So we've really been the network backbone for homes and businesses worldwide. We've been operating since 1996. And since then, we've grown tremendously in terms of global manufacturing. So we actually have about 1.7 billion users, and we manufacture and ship to over 170 countries. So we're really appreciative to be world #1 for the last 11 consecutive years. So you may have heard of some of our smaller products, but we actually have a very strong global manufacturing and shipping and presence worldwide. So with that, we've been able to keep quality at top of mind, and it's our main concern. We're really happy to have received some accolades and some awards over the past couple of years. We won the CES 2022 Innovation Award in January. And if you've heard of JD Power, not only do they rank trucks, but they also rank routers. And we're really fortunate to have won 3 out of the last 4 years. So still pumping out quality products. And then one thing that's going to differentiate us the most from other networking brands is that we produce almost everything ourselves. So we have a giant manufacturing factory overseas in Asia, in China and Vietnam. And that huge factory actually has a bunch of supporting factories that build all the pieces and puzzles of our networking products. So we know everything from the RAM to the plastic molding to the WAN ports. We build all of that ourselves, and we've been able to become experts in that over the past almost 3 decades. So when it comes to the PCB board, power supply, ports, network cables, we build all that ourselves. And essentially what that means is that we can pass those savings on to the consumer. We can have, we own our supply chain, so we can have more predictive lead times. And overall, we're just utilizing our bulk buying power to have better inventory and have better prices as well. So one thing that you might notice that we don't make ourselves is, of course, the processing, the brains of it, the silicon chip. So we actually outsource the silicon chip to either Qualcomm or Broadcom, which means that we are fully NDAA compliant. So, we don't use any products or silicon chips from some of the banned companies, nor are we a subsidiary of those companies. So if that is top of mind, if you're an integrator that works a lot in projects that require NDAA compliancy, we are fully NDAA compliant. But really what I'm here to talk to you guys about today is our Omada solution. So this is our enterprise product line. We have, switches, access points, point-to-point solutions as well. And the beautiful thing about this is that we have almost every flavor of switches or access points that can cover almost every solution when it comes to surveillance. And this is all managed and controlled by the Omada software. So the Omada software could either be a hardware controller on-premise, it could be a software controller that you host yourselves on the cloud or a server on-premise, or it can be a full cloud solution. You just pay a couple bucks per device per year, and you have the full cloud solution. So you don't have to have anything but just the switches and the access points and the cameras on site. And really the reason we built this is because we know that not every installer is the same and not every project is the same. So we want to meet our customers where they're at, whether it's on-premise or whether it's on the cloud. And we also know that SDN is the future. So for those that don't know, SDN is software-defined networking. Really what that means is you don't have to go into every single switch, every single access point like you used to possibly a couple decades ago and configure and manage it individually. So nowadays you can do it through our software. If you're familiar with some of the competitive products, for example, Unify, we have a very similar aesthetic to that, and the way that you manage and monitor all of your devices is very, very similar to that as well. So it's very capable of, adopting devices, setting up mesh, also troubleshooting from there. You have fault detection 24/7. And really what we're trying to do is make the network more efficient and also not have to utilize, time and resources to go out and do some basic restarting and troubleshooting. So yeah, we have, I'm going to go into some of the specific products that I think are going to work best for some of our surveillance integrators and dealers. But for the most part, Omada is the right solution for you all. And I think we can find with all of our products, the right solution. So when it comes to surveillance, we are not just the Wi-Fi provider anymore. We do like to facilitate the surveillance for our customers. So whether that's an indoor deployment and you would like to set up some IP cameras indoors that are not Wi-Fi enabled, you can set them up through our PoE switches, and we can also have access points as well. But for outdoor and long distance deployments, right, where it gets a little bit trickier, where it's not so easy to run wire, or you might not have PoE available, you could utilize our Pharos line of antennas. So these are our outdoor antennas for long distance use, and you can connect your cameras to there. You can have a point-to-point or point-to-multi-point setup, and you can connect, you can basically do projects that you were not able to do before with regular PoE. So, whether it's those two deployments or something in between, I would be more than happy to work with you guys and your account managers to figure out, how do we build this network so that your IP cameras and your Wi-Fi is working well.
Hey, Brian, before you go on, hey guys, they have a lot of really innovational items. Brian, explain on that router how you can it bonds a bunch of the ISP drops if they have slower internet.
Yeah, thanks for that. So our ER7206, our ER605 router does have load balancing. So, if you are working on a project where you have multiple ISP lines, for backup, for redundancy, you can actually set up on Omada, tell the router which ports are, your WAN coming in. And then it'll, through, optimization, it'll actually load balance that ISP so that, when there's a fault on one, or perhaps you want to have a more stable drop from your ISP, then the router will load balance it all. So yeah, thanks for bringing that up. Like I said, we have not just a dumb appliance here. It's pretty complex the way it does things, and it's built for enterprises and for commercial use.
Perfect. Yeah, and where we want to get to, guys, is how many times, have we had an install where you have slow internet, right? It's a big location, maybe it's a little bit on the outskirts of a town, and the internet ISP drop is just not what you really need or what the customer needs. So they can drop in a couple of ISP internet drops that are on those lower speeds, and then this router will come back in on the back end, load balance and balance it, or kind of bond them together. So, when you think about them, you should not just think about, oh, well, they can only do point to point. No, we can integrate it in to where you can do basically everything that you would need to really help improve your internet output. They can help us with as well on those bigger projects, or maybe it's an apartment complex in a newer part of town where they haven't got the infrastructure quite where they need it to, and it'll help you, actually achieve what you wanted to achieve. So perfect, Brian. Thank you.
Yeah, that's a great point. Whether that's tenant-based buildings, which, we have an example coming up. This is able to manage and kind of create smaller sites and contain all of the configurations, so that it just makes your deployments more flexible, and it just allows us to be able to do more with the same products. So overall, the best part of this is, like I said, you can manage it all through Omada. So instead of having to, plug into the console port and through the CLI, set up and configure the router to load balance that, possibly create a script or something like that. It's something where you just toggle it on and off with our software. So let's get into the competitor comparison. So, the one thing that Robbie brought up is our point-to-point antennas. So some of you guys may have known that Ubiquiti is currently it's getting hard to get some of these items. So if you are struggling with inventory on some of these, here are our alternative products. And it's really going to be two, right, that are going to cover most of the bases if you're using these products, the CP510 and the CP710. So what you're going to see here is that for our entry-level speed, right, the 510, which is 300 megabits, which might be enough for some of the rural deployments, places where the ISP is not as strong. That starts off at about $49. So you'll see that the discount when we talk about some of our competitors is going to be somewhere between 20 and 50 points, which is pretty significant. Also, when it does come to the similar price point, we make sure that we're always giving you a little bit better specs. So you can see here the LBE5AC Gen 2 is actually $5 cheaper than our CP710 or more higher throughput model. However, you're seeing that the speed is actually going to be almost double. So it's number one in bang for your buck is really the way we're going here. These are all pole mounted CPEs. So I actually have one right here. This is the 510 model. So you can see that one of the things is it also has a little light here so that you can see kind of your signal strength outside of the software.
And guys, one of the things that he hit on that I wanted to make sure we drive home is, you know, we have seen Ubiquiti for the last 15 to 18 months struggle to give any consistent supply chain. TP-Link has way more supply, and our turnaround time is, in many cases, same day. Worst case we were seeing is like a week. So for y'all, as you're coming into this, you know, this is a new brand, a new partnership for us. We really want to drive home when we pick partners. We're always thinking about things that you voice to us, and one of them is you need to be able to have a consistent, reliable supply chain, and TP-Link brings that to you. And they also bring pre and post sales support, which say Ubiquiti does not. I mean, if you've ever tried to get support from them, a lot of us have liked them in the past, but the support is very lacking. So just wanted to kind of put that plug in y'all's ear. Go ahead, Brian.
Yeah, I appreciate that. And you know, I think one of the reasons, like I mentioned, is why we have these better inventories is we have such a big consumer, you know, our Soho, our small office, home office product lines that we buy so much raw materials for. And when it comes to our enterprise side, if you have, you know, a project coming in within a month or 2 months or something down the line, we can take those strategic raw materials and shift them away from the consumer and build our enterprise line. So we always have a huge bulk of raw materials because we sell so much on the consumer side. And then we just strategically put it towards our enterprise lines because we want to make sure that you guys get your projects done. Yeah. So after the point-to-point antennas, you know, once you feel like more comfortable with the way that our products work, with the way that we plan and process your projects, some of our bread and butter product is the switches, right? So we have almost every flavor of switches. Here I'm going to highlight the ones that I think are the most used compared to the Ubiquiti SKUs for surveillance. So when it comes to 8, 16, 24, and 48 port PoE switches, I think we can beat almost all of our competitors when it comes to the spec for the price. So, you know, the TLSG 2428P, which is our 24 port switch, is going to compete with all the 16 and 24 port options out there. And another feature that is going to differentiate us from, you know, for example, Ubiquiti, is that although we do, you know, recommend that you use Omada when you're managing these switches, these can also work in standalone mode. So you're not bound to the software controller. You can go ahead and do it, you know, the traditional way and just set these up individually, and they work in standalone mode as well. So they're a standalone switch, or you could use the Omada controller to manage these and get all of the features and benefits of that. Yeah, we do deploy these out in the field, and they're weatherproof and they're rated for extra, you know, lightning protection and items like that.
Yeah, and cover y'all's warranty real fast. I think that's important because when we compare to a lot of other chip manufacturers, switch and access point manufacturers out there, your warranty kind of stood out to me in a positive light.
Yeah, I think that's one of the highlights of our products as well. Not only are you getting better specs, more competitive prices, but in terms of the support and the warranty, where the industry standard is maybe possibly a year, or, you know, for a very enterprise line, you get maybe 2 years. Our base warranty is lifetime warranty on all of our enterprise products. Now, something like an outdoor antenna that we know is going to be subject to all of the elements, those will have a 2-year warranty, but even then, that's twice what you'll get from, you know, some of our competitors. So we do have lifetime warranties on all of our enterprise products, and we're willing to back that up. And the reason why we can back that up is because we know that we manufacture the products, so the quality control is in-house, and so it's only right that we stand behind our products for a lifetime. You know, and the next product line that I want to talk to you guys about is Wi-Fi. So, you know, Wi-Fi has become the norm, and especially with Wi-Fi 6 coming out, it's becoming a lot more stable and a lot more plausible to deploy when it comes to an enterprise solution. So with Wi-Fi 6, what are you getting, right? Well, with Wi-Fi 6, you're getting better processing power, better efficiency, and what that translates to is more users and better performance. So the Wi-Fi 6, we have a lot of different access points, whether that's ceiling mounted, wall mounted, outdoor mounted, pole mounted. We have almost every solution, for your customers. For our competitors, right, they probably are still using Wi-Fi 5. They might have some Wi-Fi 6 products, but in terms of inventory and availability, you'll probably only be able to get their Wi-Fi 5 models. However, for the price that you're getting with a competitor, a Wi-Fi 5, you could get the Wi-Fi 6 models with us now. And that's going to give you, better processing power, higher throughput, more data going out to all of the clients, and it's an overall better power consumption as well, so more efficient. And like I mentioned, our access points are backed by lifetime warranty. So, you can see that the specs are very competitive. And when it comes to the price that you're getting for the support, and for the performance, yeah, it's really a no-brainer situation. So, the ones that I think we would highlight the most are going to be the EAP 650, which is our ceiling mounted omnidirectional access point. And so that means it creates almost a sphere of Wi-Fi, right? Which is very useful when it comes to outdoor deployments. So for example, like the EAP 610. And not to mention that you can manage all of this with Omada. So usually what we'll do, and in one project specifically, what we'll do is we'll end up using the CPE antennas as a backbone, and then the EAP 610s in a mesh formation. So to make sure that we give you the best coverage. And I think for the most part, you will be using our enterprise products, but I don't want to, gloss over any residential installers or integrators out there. So, if you have customers that are also looking for indoor, small, maybe like 2K cameras that compete with Google Nest or, those Alexa cameras, or possibly a doorbell camera, we also have those smart sensors, smart cameras, and smart ring cameras as well. So if you have any opportunities for that, definitely feel free to reach out to your account manager, and I'm sure that they'll get in contact with me, and then we can kind of walk you through, what those specs are. So yeah, and I think this is the most exciting part. We have been working with Alibi definitely this quarter on a lot of projects. Here's one in particular that we worked with an integrator, Alibi integrator, for the Hilton hotel chain. So the blues are the initial drawing of where the integrator needed surveillance coverage. And you can see that some of these are actually outdoors. So they're not connected to a Cat5 cable or anything like that. And we were able to go ahead and create the mesh deployment for them, show them exactly where they would put the access point, where they would put the switch, connect the camera, and how that would all mesh so that it could come back to the server room and the NVR. And here is a one that was even more exciting and more work definitely to do. But essentially, we had an integrator come to us, and this is a multi-tenant project where they needed all these little specs here that you can see are actually base camps for cameras. So there's this project ended up being about 60 cameras that needed to be connected. And if you can see this, the bottom management house down here, I'm just gonna highlight, that's where the ISP line was coming, and they did have multiple ISP lines, so we were able to utilize our load balancing router. But we needed to get the network out into the field, out into the campus, and make sure that everything was connected. So what we ended up doing is we were able to spec out that job for them, show them exactly how they would connect their antenna backbone and where the mesh hops would be. So they were able to confidently go out and source the product and deploy it out in the field. And so not only did we help them for the pre-sales, But when they ran into the issues, which of course, when a deployment is this big, there's going to be some issues. We were there to answer their calls and meet with them via Teams. We remoted into their controller once they gave us permission, and we were able to troubleshoot it, see which access points were working and why they weren't, optimize the signal strength. One thing that the artificial intelligence does in our Omada solution is it does a RF scanner. So it'll optimize, which channel to speak to the other access points so that there's less interference. So you can imagine a job like this where there's 60 access points and they're all talking, there's going to be interference. So what we did is we just ended up changing the channels and the signal strength so that the network was not so disturbed by adding all of these access points. So what we were able to do was not just create the network for the cameras to, come all the way back to the MVR, but also to give Wi-Fi out to the community. So this was a job that required both create the network for the cameras, but then also having the outdoor Wi-Fi for the tenants. So if you have any jobs like that where you kind of have a dual mandate and have to set up the network for the cameras, but also for the campus and for the Wi-Fi for the community, that's something that we can work with you on, and we definitely have the tools and the equipment to deploy those solutions. And then here we just highlighted, in these areas, the greens are the first hop, and then the reds are the second hop. So we wanted to highlight the second hop because as you're doing a mesh deployment, when you go from one access point to a second access point, you lose about a third to a half of the speed and the throughput. And so that's something that you need to be, you need to definitely take into consideration. It's something that you can do, but you want to make sure that you know that those access points are going to be somewhat limited when it comes to bandwidth.
And hey guys, what we want to kind of cover here is Brian and his team actually helped us engineer this for the dealer before deployment. So the dealer said, hey, we need all of these 60 or 65 multi-tenant homes to have free Wi-Fi for their tenants, right? And we also need to have a point-to-point mesh backbone that we can have it on a separate deal for the cameras, right? So, in a lot of subsidized housing communities, there's crime. So that, the person in charge is saying, hey, we want to have cameras to secure, say, air conditioning or any of the areas that typically may have vandalism. But we also want to help our tenants have more, and we want to give them internet. So in this instance, it was a 60 or 65 multi-tenant home location, kind of like a big apartment complex. And we were able to do both. And then on the back end, like you said, when you have this many Wi-Fi signals, it can be daunting as an integrator to want to tackle that. And we've said time and time again, no job is too big for us, and we can help step in and fill in those little plugs or gaps that your company may have. And in this instance, the company was really sound in their installing. They had done wireless before, but this was a pretty complex job for them. And Brian and his engineering team actually stepped back in and said, hey, no problem. You're having trouble getting a couple of these connected. Let me help you. Oh, you've got some duplicate channels here. Let me fix some of these signals. Let me turn the signal strength down. If you look in the upper right, it says 100-meter radius. Well, when you have this many signals out there and you have only X amount of channels, they turn the signal strength down slightly so that you didn't have the bouncing into each other or that, interference. And everything works seamlessly. We've actually moved on past this job. We've done 2 more big projects with that integrator up north because of the success he had here. So when you're thinking about deployment, it's really easy. Sometimes people say, hey, I just need to get to this one building, quarter mile, half mile away and bring internet back. But, we wanted to kind of open your eyes into it can do a lot more. And it's really achievable on your side. All right. Sorry about that. Go ahead, Brian.
No worries. And yes, exactly. And we work with whoever is boots on the ground. We did actually for this job, one time did have to remote into the network engineer that was working on this job. So we work with whoever the end user is, whoever is deploying this. We want to make sure that they feel confident in our product and that we can support them when they need help. And we also did the schematic on how they would connect all these, which products will go in the server room, spec'd out the router, their aggregate switch, their access layer switch as well, some of the CPEs and the EAP 610s. So we walked them through exactly which products to get and exactly how they would connect all those, and not just kind of gave them a quote and let them figure it out. And one thing that was actually really interesting for this job is it was a job that we was originally spec'd out using Ubiquiti items. So over here on the top, on the left, you'll see the original schematic for how the integrator wanted to do this project. They wanted to use an AirMax AC bridge, which is similar to our CPE 710. They also wanted to use a Wi-Fi 5 access point, which is dual band for 149. And then they also had to use two switch utilities. So one was to power the switch, and the second one was a flex switch, and then all encased in a NEMA box. So the total for this, when it comes to just the networking items, not including the cameras and the NEMA boxes and the patch cables and everything else, just for the networking was, $370, something like that. So when it comes to the field base, you're talking about maybe $500-600 per field base, right? So, I think this probably could have worked if they knew exactly what they were doing with Ubiquiti. But when we went ahead and gave them our deployment, how we would use this, we spec'd it out with some of our products. And here you can see that we gave them the CPE 710, the EAP 610 outdoor, and our 8-port switch with the 4-port PoE. So you can see that it's a much simpler solution in terms of the way we go about and deploy Wi-Fi and also create the network for the cameras. So it's really just the access point, the switch, and the antenna backbone. So with that in mind, this deployment right here for this base station is about $287. So you're looking at a pretty significant price difference, especially if you have about 60 of these out in the field. So not to mention the savings that you're getting from just buying the products. You have to buy less products, but the cost saving of working with less items, not having to configure that extra switch utility, not having to configure that extra antenna. So you essentially, you're doing more with less and you're getting it at a better price. So, this is something that we were able to help with as the experts in our products, walking through their specs, walking through their schematics, seeing what we could use better instead of the Ubiquiti items. So they save more money, they use less items, it was a little bit more simpler to install and go ahead deploy. So I think overall it was really great that we were able to touch base with installer and work with them and deploy a more simpler solution and a more cost-effective solution as well. And this, like Robbie mentioned, this was actually done in the field. So here's just some quick screenshots of and some pictures of the base camps that they deployed outside. So you can see that it has the dome camera from Alibi. It's in a NEMA box enclosure, and it does have the EAP 610 outdoor right there on the outside of the NEMA box. And there's a CP 710 over on the other side of the building to connect everything together. So yeah, overall, this was really glad that we were able to help the customer deploy this. So yeah, it's really awesome. And here it is out in the field. And then after this, after they did the 60, they worked on another project that was just as big as well. So here I'm getting into our final words here. Oops, sorry about that. All right, so here I'm getting into kind of like the final words of just to reiterate, why choose us, right? So we have full solutions. We have over 300 SKUs of all of our products. I only highlighted a few of them, but you can see that we can find a solution for you with all of the products that we have. This is business grade Wi-Fi. We have business grade switching, and we also have all other accessories, whether that's SFP modules, whether that's media converters, PoE injectors. We can find the right solution with all of our products. And something that you're not going to get from some of our competitors when you look at the more cost-effective products that they have, you're not going to get the management that you can utilize, so that it's constantly optimizing your network, and then also constantly, letting you know fault detections, letting you know where you can optimize the signal interference. So you're getting really great access points as well. So our Wi-Fi 6 access points, advanced security, and then we're working on even better models. So we're working on 2.5 gig multi-gig. We're working on 10 gig switches. We're going to work on our 10 gig router that's going to come out in Q4 as well. So when it comes to a job like a hotel chain, we have all of the products to connect the Alibi security cameras. And another reason why I think we'd be great to look at us as an alternative networking partner is, we have performance products as well. We're using chipsets from Qualcomm, Broadcom, tier 1 suppliers. We've been doing this for the last 27 years almost. And all of the manufacturing is in-house. So we can ensure the quality control, and we can stand by our items with a lifetime warranty because of that. And then over here on the right, you can see the mobile application of the Omada. So it's mobile, it's desktop, it's cloud. We just want to meet you wherever you are most comfortable and most productive. And finally, you're going to get with us that you won't get with another manufacturer is the support and the warranty. So, we don't charge you anything to troubleshoot, chat over email or anything like that. We do have live support. We can hop on a training with your technical engineer, with your engineers, or with your installers, pre and post sales. We also have planning tools. One thing that I didn't highlight here was on Omada, you can also upload a map. You can upload a schematic of the deployment, and you can drag and drop all of the access points, the CPEs, the switches, and they can give you a kind of like a live view of the coverage of those access points. So you can also drop walls and ceilings and things like that, so that you can see precisely what the coverage is that you were going to get with those products. And then maybe you don't need as many, or maybe you do need some more, so you can kind of see those real metrics on the coverage of our access points. So with that, I'm at 40 minutes here. But yeah, happy to go into any questions, and just want to say thank you again to Alibi and to Robbie for allowing me to be here.
Perfect. Let me kind of read off some questions and you can answer them live. So first question from Matt is, the TP-Link Wi-Fi class has figures there for AC 1200. Would that be the SW foot of coverage? So square foot coverage?
Yeah, that's a great question. So when we talk about our Wi-Fi speed and the Wi-Fi class, that's going to be the total throughput, right? So you're talking about 1200 megabits, that one access point can output. And that's through, so for example, when you're talking about AC 1200, you're talking about a Wi-Fi 5 access point that can do, probably somewhere around 400 megabits on the 2.4 gig channel, and about 800 megabits on the 5 gig channel. So you're talking about total throughput. And you can think about that as how big the pipe is, for data. So yeah, that's talking about total throughput.
Next question is from Zach. Hey, Zach, thanks for attending. You're asking for support. It's like, where is support located for TP-Link, and will Alibi provide some level of support to the dealers? So that to answer part of that is we always, our account managers always help do a lot of the pre-sale support, right? And then they work in conjunction with Brian. And then on post-sales, Brian's team handles that. And y'all are in California, correct, Brian?
Yes, sir. Yeah.
Correct. So, and then, you would call into them. So hope that helps that answer that question. Next question, Todd Dexter. Are there any upcoming plans for on TP-Link side to include access control or VoIP hardware similar to the Unify Access or Talk? If so, will that be?
Yeah, I know exactly what he's asking, and that's a great question. So, as we're providing more and more services, whether that's VoIP or through the cameras or I mean, we don't have cameras, but something like that. People want everything to be in just one solution, and so I think for the future, whether that's putting the CPEs directly via Omada or putting coming out with a phone or something like that directly into Omada so you can configure it. That is definitely in our roadmap. And we know that that's something that the consumers want. So, we have not just the 6 product engineers here on site, but we have actually somewhere about 1,800 R&D engineers, throughout globally. So that's something that they're all working on to build within the next probably year or so. It's just consolidating all of our products into Omada.
Okay, so Matt, on access points, do you have any access points that do more than 1 gigabit connection so they can have pass through or drop?
Yeah, that's a great question. So, I highlighted the ones that we've utilized the most in some of our deployments. But if you look at our Wi-Fi, top of the line Wi-Fi 6 access point, like our, EAP 670, which is, or EP 690, which is a 2.5 gig Ethernet port, or something like our EP 690E, which is our Wi-Fi 6E access point. Those have multi-gig Ethernet ports.
Perfect. Next one is from Todd. Is Omada free for end users? And I think this is a great question. So Brian had kind of explained that they have an on-premise controller type, and then they have like a cloud-based controller type. Brian, kind of go ahead and explain that and explain the kind of the cost structure, right? I mean,
yeah, definitely. Let me just go back here to the slide real quick. So, the Omada is free. So you can actually go on TP-Link/Omada, download it right now and get the software so you can play around with it for free. Now, if you have a server that is capable of running, all of your network, then you can just download it for free and start running it. If you would like a dedicated hardware appliance, like our hardware controllers, OC200 or OC300, you just pay for the appliance and then you can run Omada there. If you want it on the cloud or some kind of a hybrid cloud, we do about $10 per device per year, which comes out to about 80 cents a month. Then you don't need a hardware appliance. You don't need your own dedicated server, anything like that. We run it all through Amazon's web services. And you just pay that yearly fee. So there's definitely free options.
yeah, great question, Adam. Where would we be purchasing the equipment through? Yeah, you would go through Alibi. So we signed into a master distributor agreement with this partnership, and we had a huge shipment come in today. So hope that answers that question.
Yes, please reach out to your account manager, and if you have any questions, then we can work that out.
All right, so the next question is, does Omada software do both switches and P2P antennas?
Yeah, that's a great question. So at the moment, they are different softwares, but the goal, like a question earlier, was we want to consolidate those. So right now they are 2 different softwares, but in the future, they will all be within Omada. So right now they are 2 different softwares.
All right, next question from Adam. Power per port ratio compared to other manufacturers. So you're really talking AT and AF, like power per port. They actually have a whole host of switches that do a lot. So go ahead, Brian.
Yeah, great question. So, we have whether that's a basic 15-watt PoE that you need, or 30-watt PoE, or 60-watt PoE when it comes to the AF/AT, BT protocols. Yeah, we have almost every PoE budget available. So, one thing that you'll notice right here is we have the TLSG 2428P. Then we have the TLSG 2428MP, and that M just means more power. So, if you need a more PoE budget, we have options for that as well.
Perfect. Michael Baker, do you have wall mount brackets for your point-to-point?
Yeah, yes, sir. So the point-to-points do come with pole mounts, and it's all snap-on parts. Let's see what I have it here. I don't have it here, but yeah, we do have pole mounted parts. So everything that you need to turn it on and mount it, comes included in the box.
All right. Next question is Todd. Dexter, you're asking, say, will it be competitive with Amazon pricing on TP-Link? Answer is yes. We've actually been bringing dealers over as we've been introducing this to them, and they're like, oh, well, I buy 10 of the 2.4 gigahertz CPEs, every month from Amazon, and our price was right in line with that. So, it's not lost on us that Amazon is the the big elephant in the room on price disruption, and we are not disadvantaged to help you with that.
Yes, exactly. And going through Alibi and going as a master distributor, you get access to our B2B support and all of our other B2B benefits. So, not something that you'll be able to call Amazon and they can figure out. But if you go through Alibi and the B2B channel, you'll be getting all the B2B support.
All right. Well, I don't see any other questions. So with that, and being cognizant of, wanting to keep on our 1 hour timeline, it looks like we're going to be finished 12 minutes early. So I would first like to thank everyone for attending. And then I'd also like to thank Brian with TP-Link for able to present this with us today. If y'all have any questions, please contact your account manager. They can walk you through anything you can need. If they don't have the answer, they'll contact Brian and his team and get you the answers. So with that, thank everyone for attending, and we appreciate everything y'all do. So thank you very much.
Thank you, guys. Thanks, Robbie. Thanks, Alibi. Thank you, guys.